They say never meet your heroes, but this car for such a long time has been building and building, and now I finally get to see it in person, and it absolutely lives up to everything that I wanted it to be. So join me while we go all over and nerd out on just some of the millions of details on Kyle Wilinsky's Mk3 Golf GTI VR6 Turbo.
Man, I'm finna do my thing. Crazy in the club when I'm in there, man. Trust me, homie, I'm not playing. I had a chance to go off the chain. I said, get up. I came to bring you that California love and a little New York hate. It's all of the above. I'm not playing, I'm saying I'm off the chain. You better follow instructions. I said, when I get into it, I get into it. Everybody can't do it the way I do it. I make it rain, and the sun come out. I plane, we make the guns come out. Now, my question is who they gon' blame when I'm at #1 on the Billboard again? Shit shift now, the game done changed. This might be Thriller and Princeman Purple Rain. Get up! Man, I'm gonna do my thing. Get up!
With a huge mixture of Euro, of US, of custom, of OEM Plus, and just straight up OEM restoration, there is a ton of work in this car. Before we get into it super though, I do want to just give a big thanks to our video sponsor, thesuspensionsource.com, home of Solo-Werks. And to give you a time idea, I'm going to try and hold this like this while we talk about that very quickly. Oh boy, Solo-Werks, part of the KW group, literally started, founded by KW_Glenn on Instagram, is just the nicest place to get suspension from for street performance. This car is on air ride. We had a whole big conversation. I gotta stop. Okay, end of advert, thesuspensionsource.com. Part of the Volkswagen scene has always been cleanliness, smoothing lines and everything else, and this car absolutely nails it. It just looks so clean, that perfect paint, everything else. But rather than just smoothing and shaving everything, which would be an option, Kyle actually put on Euro fenders. So the US fender doesn't have this notch and it doesn't have a VR6 badge. So he has unshaved it in a way. But then he did a shaving job that most people will never notice, and I want to make sure that you see this one early in the video so that you will never unsee it. The door handle. It looks like a Mk3 door handle, but it is not. It is a Volkswagen Polo door handle, which has a different shape, a different keyhole. The difference is so negligible. A normal person would never notice, but it is that OEM Plus, that perfect showing of OEM Plus. But it doesn't end there because yes, this basically bolts on. You can do that mod in your Mk3. It's pretty easy. You gotta like tweak a little something, but it's fine. But what you may not have noticed is the door notch where you put your hand in. Well, it goes all the way up normally, but instead, just to make it custom, it is now halved in height. So this top piece here has been welded closed. So instead of being able to put your hand in from above, you have to put your hand in from underneath to open it up. And that is that custom OEM Plus upgrade that no normal person will literally be able to tell ever. And even a Mk3 enthusiast probably won't notice it just looking at photos or something, but this is what makes this car so special. And then when you look at the door handle, and every single piece is perfectly cleaned and polished, the rubber seals look brand new. This is the level of detail that makes me absolutely love this car. So we've already gone from really straight normal body lines to adding things instead of shaving, and then OEM plussing, and then full customization, and nobody would be able to tell that all of that work has been done. Now, staying on this side, Project Zwo mirrors. These look OEM. They are actually a aftermarket tuning company, Project Zwo from Germany, and these are pretty hard to get. Anything Project Zwo, you gotta go out, you gotta go on eBay, you gotta search around and stuff. They've got the little Project Zwo stamp there. The joke about them is they are actually worse to use as mirrors than original ones. It's a downgrade in drivability, but hey, isn't that what half of modifying cars is about sometimes? This is that aftermarket period correct upgrade or change. So there's just a mixture of classic mods, very classic mods, and then mods you wouldn't really expect to see on a clean and smooth car, but somehow it all comes together so well. The cleanliness continues all over the car, of course, but going that extra mile. So the sunroof seal is brand new. The old antenna hole welded up, gone. You don't need a radio when your engine sounds this good. And then on the back, it has the base model glass. It doesn't have the 3 holes for the upper wing. And of course, the rear wiper hole has been shaved. Also, again, another thing most people won't notice, the swage lines. Normally there's a body seam line there. That's been shaved. And this rear bumper, a Euro rear bumper, but normally this is black textured. Instead, it's been sanded down completely smooth and painted with the same deep gloss paint as the rest of the car. And before you're yelling in the comments, this is a Euro hatch. This car was a US spec one. So those fenders we talked about earlier used to be the US spec ones. This has been changed to a Euro hatch. I think this one I literally might have sold Kyle. So I've flown to Europe, found this on a car, inspected it, put it in a container, come over, and that's happened on so many parts on this car. So it's a real mixture of different continents, different parts, new parts, old parts, everything else. Titanium tip on the exhaust. The rest of it is a stainless steel system. Pennsylvania license plate. Yes, this car was built only about 20 miles away from where I live. So this is straight up a Pennsylvania car. It could have been from anywhere in the world and I'd be so excited to see it. But the fact that it's local, the fact that it's a friend to own it is just extra super cool. But let's keep going with the custom modifications. I'm going to spin around and we're going to look at the fuel filler cap. How could that be exciting? Let's find out. So Audi TT fuel filler cap, a classic modification, a meal from Mk3 VW. I'm going to shout you out and everyone else that's done this in the past because this car knows its roots. But there's differences. Normally on the Audi TT, there's little bolt holes, but again, Adam, who did the custom fab work on the exhaust, welded that up. So this part flips out. This side normally has the bolt holes. That's all shaved. So even the OEM Audi upgrade has then been modified because just factory OEM Plus wasn't enough. Continuing with the other brand things, Porsche wheels, 5x130, but they're not made by Porsche. They are ETA Beta or ETA, BETA, you pronounce that however you want. In the back here, Mark IV aluminum calipers, H&R adapters, and then up front, those big Porsche calipers as well, with the same color front and rear, because you've got to match. I can't overstate the cleanliness and attention to detail, but one thing that I've done myself to work around when parts aren't available, this seal around the window is actually from Subaru. It's like a $7 seal, brand new from Subaru, and it perfectly mimics the OEM Volkswagen one, which isn't available and isn't available separately. But again, just that attention to detail and proof that you don't have to spend a lot of money. That these door handles, I mean, it's not an expensive thing. If you're in Europe, you can find it. Now, brand new seals, getting a little fancier, but this brand new seal, $7 or $8, easy to install and just pushes that car a little bit further towards perfection. Moving up, again, Project Volvo Mirror, wiper, a correct, period correct Bonrath mono wiper, super DTM style. If he was going on that racy look, it would be pointing right up to the Performance VW sticker, but it's subtly tucked there. And to add to the subtlety, really good condition wiper cowl covers. I never know the proper name for those, but there's also a right-hand drive one because then you can shave one of the holes when you go from 2 wiper arms down to 1. Is anyone going to notice that at a car show? Probably not. Would somebody look at it and be like, wow, this car is so clean, and not know why and how and everything that went into it? Yes, probably. So moving on to the front. OEM Euro bumper. Again, I think that one came from me. Vento headlights. So this has a Vento front end. What is a Vento? It is a Mark III Jetta in the European market because Mark I and Mark II Jettas didn't sell very well. So the Volkswagen marketing team said, hey guys, the Mark III Golf with a trunk or a boot, it's not a Jetta, it's a Vento. So like, you know, I know you didn't like the Jetta, but this is a totally different car, but it was just a Jetta with a different badge. But these headlights, this shape is interchangeable. And so Kyle went and did that. Could he have done the US headlights? Yes. Why would you do Vento? Well, because there's slightly smoother glass. They don't have the little bumps that the US car have, a different light beam pattern, etc. And a phase one, a early Vento grille as well. This is all new old stock. Turn signals are new old stock. These vents are not original, they're not OEM, but they are original Cami scoops. So again, another period correct piece to go with the Bonraft, to go with the Project Vo, and to go with the front lip, which is not an ABT front lip. It's an apt front lip, all right? It's like a whole apt family. Their last name is apt. It's not, guten Mittag, Herr ABT. Like, we're not doing that, all right? Like Kyle, Mr. Wilinsky. Hi, Mr. Wilinski. No, it's apt. So it's an apt front lip, but again, another genuine period correct part, which is fully glossy painted, which is also a good reason why this car is on air suspension. It allows it to sit with the right offset, with the lip almost kissing the ground while not scratching that paint. So it can be lifted up, and it did get trailered here, okay? But that's fine. It will get driven, but for Performance VW, for the big show, Alpine Vag Fair, for today's shoot, maybe it'll come out to my show in September, who knows? It makes sense. A stone chip would be a sin. However, Kyle has got at least like 50 miles on it, I think, because under the hood, well, it's a lot. The outside, there's a lot of details and stuff, but let's pop the hood and talk about, yeah, you're gonna like this. Stay tuned. Now, what is show without go? Well, okay, we already talked about this car hasn't exactly gone fast yet, but under the hood is about 400 horsepower. And before anyone else, asks, I did hurt my wrist. But it doesn't matter that I wouldn't be able to use a hood strut because it has hydraulic lifters on the hood. But why on earth am I talking about little mods like that when we have a 3.2 liter VR6, that wonderful Vura engine, but yeah, 240 horsepower normally, not when you strap a great big turbo onto a custom manifold, and it's now putting out about 400-ish. On standalone, it's running Mega Squirt, and there is so much customization going on, it's hard to know where to even start. So, custom intake manifold, of course mirror polished, and then a Mustang throttle body going into all welded up, custom made front mount intercooler piping, which is super well connected, and where it does connect the intercooler pipe to the cylinder head, it even has a chromed little tab there with a chromed little bolt. So this thing, you couldn't eat off of it because you would scratch it. Literally, your pasta, your spaghetti that you would eat off of the motor would leave little microfine scratches, whereas right now it is polished to absolute perfection. Now, as you may or may not know, the VR6 engine does lean forwards, so about 5-6 millimeter gap there between the dipstick and the radiator fans, but everything's completely tucked. Now, something that is a little bit unusual or custom is the front slam panel. It is not the European version, it is the American metal version, but modified, everything worked out so that the European headlights go in. And again, that's that modification, that sort of level that even car enthusiasts would never know because it just looks so OEM plus, but the amount of hours that have gone into just that, no one's gonna notice, but it just adds and adds and adds to the quality and just how much I really like this car. Then there's obvious mods. Even the spring on the chromed hood latch is chromed, but yes, massive, great big turbo, just a stone guard on it. So no intake cleaning, no intake track, literally just air getting sucked right through the metal there. A great big TL wastegate on the back. The brake booster is painted. The brake reservoir is chromed. Every single piece has that attention to detail, but instead of going fully shaved, just like the door handles. Yeah, you can shave door handles, but why do that when you can switch to an OEM Plus and do this and do that to it and put way more work into it to make it look like something that people wouldn't notice? The frame rails, the strut towers, are politely shaved. So not entirely smooth, but all of the original brackets, everything else, you have no trace of those. Going back, the wiper, again, you just don't even notice how clean it looks using the right-hand drive one there and then removing the little plastic cover there. So everything just looks so perfect in as mint condition as possible, whether it's OEM or OEM Plus. I want to keep talking about this. There's a whole lot in the engine bay, things that you cannot see in our lovely video here. The gearbox, yes, it's all polished and chromed and fancy, but inside, straight cut gears. So you've got that insane race car whine out of it, a limited slip differential. It just goes on and on and on. Every bolt, the starter, the chroming, the brackets, everything is completely perfect. And then things that you wouldn't normally notice but could draw a bad attention to your eye, the axles are completely black, very smooth, very clean. You're getting it, right? There's just so much cleanliness all over this, but not just smoothed, just so much attention to detail, things you wouldn't notice. Things that are custom, but adding on to that OEM, the coolant reservoir bottle is gone. Now it's strapped on the back there with AN fittings. It just goes on and on and on and on. I think if this dropped into a Mustang show or a muscle car show or anything, the workmanship, everything would be able to be understood and transferred over. And again, I think that's what makes these sort of cars so cool. And I hope I'm doing a good job explaining why a economy sort of car from the mid-90s is worth not just a second look, but a 30-minute walk around proper look, whether it's at a car show, whether it's during YouTube, wherever it is. If you get a chance, please check it out. But let's continue right now and go onto the interior where #Recaro is about to happen. Well, what a luxurious place to be. So Recaro seats, OEM Mk3, but of course completely retrimmed like pretty much the entire rest of the car. So OEM door cards completely retrimmed, dashboard completely trimmed, and then a custom center console for the CAE shifter with the reverse lockout with lift. So everything in here is kind of going luxurious except the shifter, motorsport, but again, just that classic modification for a lot of Volkswagen water-cooled cars. A completely custom mounted standalone gauge cluster sits in the OEM location. No radio. So we're going high luxury here, but base model OEM radio delete there. And a BBS steering wheel, which is a genuine BBS wheel, but customized with a larger center opening so that it can run an OEM BBS wheel center cap badge. So originally it would have been smaller, have a BBS badge, but of a much smaller diameter. That's not good enough for Kyle. He had it custom machined, custom wrapped to use a center cap from outside just because he could. OEM Euro switch, just a bunch of things. We've got the Mark IV pedal covers in aluminum. Talking about covers, the sill cover, the OEM VR6 sill covers were new old stock. He managed to find those in Spain, had them shipped over because when you repaint the car, you got to peel them to do a good job and they're not really reusable. So he went that extra length to make sure to have that. Custom carpets, custom floor mats, custom headliner, even the perforated headliner continues on to the sunroof. So just so much custom work gone into this. And I think, again, if you're just a car person, if you're not a Volkswagen person, if you're not a Volkswagen Golf person, if you're not a Volkswagen Golf Mk3 person, you can still appreciate just how much effort and thought and love and care went into this car. Perfectly exemplified by the interior. Of course, the interior is not just here, it's in the trunk. So let me try and make my way out of the car and I'll meet you back there. These perfect hat struts. So trunk, retrim continues, smoothed lines, actually smooth sides, but with the same type of diagonal striping that it echoes back from the door cards, which have the OEM diagonal stripes there. Nice, clean air tank setup. It's got the AccuAir E-Level controller built into the front of the dash, but back here, just clean, classic, but again, fully custom molded there that most people wouldn't be able to tell wasn't OEM. So again, that fit and finish is just pristine throughout all of it. And then, remember that perforated headliner that I nerded out on? Yeah, it continues on inside the back of the hatch in the little grab handle slam panel that no one would even look at normally, but of course it continues through, showing how much thought, care, and attention went into it. I've never looked underneath here. So got a little Odyssey battery tucked in there. Everything's fully insulated, sound deadened, and what you can't see is underneath the carpet and the whole way the paint continues. So you'll never ever see it, but the same quality of paint is underneath the carpets. Why? Just because car person, that's why. So again, just so much, So I hope that helps explain just some of the things that went into this car. Every single piece chrome, bolts chromed, the perforated little pull tab for the trunk cover, the spare wheel cover. It just goes on and on and on.
Nice.
So Kyle has been sharing this car for years, really, on Instagram. And throughout the rebuild, going from the original black paint when it was repainted black and then coming through into the new blue version of the car, all of those details were documented on his Instagram. And some people think that that's maybe not a great thing. Oh, it spoils the surprise. But I think quite the opposite. There are so many details, so much love, so much sweat, equity has been put into this build that being able to follow along, I know from my perspective, heightened the excitement. I couldn't wait to see it finish. I couldn't wait to open Performance VW and look at it there and then get to see it here. And I can't wait to see it again at future shows and see people walking around and just looking at every part of it. So I'm all for that. I think it throws back to the VW Vortex forum days, the mid 2000s, 2004, 5, 6, 7, when so many people were on there updating, making the build posts, posting photos about it, and then taking them out to the shows and encouraging people to come and look at it. And I know Kyle shares that same, I don't want to say this incorrectly, but the same excitement about the idea of us now being the keepers of these cars. When we were 17, 18, 20, going to the shows, whether it was Waterfest here or whether it's Edition 38 in the UK or Campfest, going and seeing this level of car, going and talking to the builders. And Kyle's super nice, approachable, will answer questions for hours on which bolt was this or how did you do that with anybody. And I think that's so important. So if you are much younger versions of us seeing these cars for the first time, to be inspired or educated or whatever, just to have that excitement that we felt when we saw our hero cars. And now I sit here pretty far away from being 17-year-old Jamie, but I'm still so excited to see this car. And I hope that is conveyed in some small way in this video. Now, the rain, as you might hear, has just started. So we are not going to go and do rollers as we would like to do on our channel, for multiple reasons. Yes, it's all very nice and clean, but also our camera equipment and everything else. So I'm gonna shut up and let the car do the talking, enjoy what is coming up with the beauty shots of this car. Kyle's Mk3 VR6 GTI VR6 Turbo. I hope you get to see it in person at a show soon.
I'm not playing, I'm up the chain, you follow instructions, I say get up.